I think when pundits look back on the 2022 election, the role that education issues played will require, I think, a more serious look. But a backlash against the parents' movement, it was already brewing, with many on the left saying parents should defer to the experts. But now we know that parental involvement is vital for our schools. And, I go back a little bit to where this kind of all got started. It was COVID. The left wanted these lockdowns. They wanted kids out of the school. They wanted them to stay home. Well, I think they're probably sorry about that now, because parents began to see what their kids were being indoctrinated with. Now, one of the reasons that FRC has been running school board candidate training sessions was to help parents get involved in these races and run successfully. Well, joining me now is one of those, Mike Callan, he was a participant in one of these boot camps. He ran this cycle for a seat on a school board in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and he won. And he's also, as I mentioned earlier, a Marine. Mike, welcome to Washington Watch and Semper Fi.
Well, nice to meet you, Tony, but let me clarify right out of the gate. I am not a Marine. I am the son of a Navy fighter pilot. That was as close to wearing the stripes as I got.
Oh, well, that's good enough. We're glad that you're with us today, but you've answered the call to duty. You are not running as a parent of school children, but as a grandparent. What compelled you to run?
Well, for those in the audience who have transitioned from the world of being a parent to becoming a grandparent, as they can attest, something washes over you as a grandparent that didn't wash over you before. And you become somebody you hardly recognize, but you don't care. It's driven by a heartbeat for these grandchildren that causes you to engage in all sorts of either fun and playful activities that you might not normally engage in, or stepping into educational or political arenas that you may never have engaged in before. And with 3 of my 4 grandchildren currently in the public school system here in Virginia Beach, and watching the direction that things were heading and being shocked and appalled at times as to the direction that it was actually leading to, I had a serious talk with myself, and I came to the conclusion as I reached this intersection in my mind that I was going to turn into an old curmudgeon and just grouse and gripe and complain about things, or I was going to stare at myself in the mirror and say, I guess this is one of your moments where you either put up or shut up. So I raised my hand, entered the arena, began the process of applying for things, but knew from the beginning that I was totally ill-equipped and unprepared and unfamiliar with so much of what awaited me. But that didn't stop me. I guess, again, you lose your brains and your mind when you become a grandparent, and I was willing to proceed even into a foreign territory that I knew nothing about. And here we are all these months later, and you sit back and you say, only God could have made that happen.
I want to talk just a moment about, because there's other people that are now going to take a second look at, maybe I should have ran. Maybe I'll do it next time. When you got out there on the campaign trail, what was the most surprising thing that you encountered?
Well, for the most part, I put myself in their shoes. And if somebody were to knock on my door and either be the candidate or represent the candidate, the last thing I would probably want to experience from them is to be engaged, since you just rang my doorbell and interrupted me from whatever I was currently doing. I would not want to be engaged in a lengthy discussion about many things. So I kept it as brief as I possibly could. And you may be familiar with an item that's referred to in the campaign game plan called a palm card. And here's an example of my palm card. And let me make sure I bring that into the right area of the screen. This is just me, and I would hand it out. And as you can see towards the bottom, bring it over. There we go. At the bottom, there was a website. There was a website. And I would basically tell people that here's my name. here's where I live. There was a newly designed district system that went into effect for the first time ever in Virginia Beach. And I just let them know where within that district my house was located. And I would point them to the website and encourage them to go there, lift the hood, kick the tires, and find out what I'm all about. And if it turned out that they found themselves on the same page as I was, as represented by the material in the website, then I told them I would be honored to earn their vote. And I can't tell you how many times people would respond favorably by saying, A, thank you for being brief. Thank you for at least stepping out. And before I even left their front doorstep, many people would say, you got my vote. And having just met me for the first time, I was honestly surprised and would ask, well, I'm curious. I appreciate that. But what was the reason behind you willing to give me your vote? And many times the answer was, you're the first person who's ever run for school board, who's ever knocked on my door. So just because you were willing to get out, whether it was 95 degrees in the summer or it was raining and you're under an umbrella, you were willing to pay dues that I'm impressed with, and you get my vote.